Hey, good morning. Hope this finds y'all doing well. Look, folks, quick announcement. If you're not in Lawrence, you probably didn't get this news. And if you're not in Lawrence, it doesn't really impact you. But last week, Douglas County shut down all the bars because apparently there's a huge spike in the coronavirus cases, and a large number of them tied to the hawk. This is what I used to tell my classes every semester. Folks, if you're over 21, you don't need to go to the Hawk anymore anyway. Guys, be careful at the Hawk, especially in the summertime, because most of the young ladies are there are high school students. They go to the Hawk because they can drink there. So if you're over 21, don't need to go to the Hawk. Go somewhere else. But right now, all the bars in Lawrence are closed as of last week. Just had a long meeting about the fall. And the bottom line, folks, is I wish I could tell you we had some kind of news about the fall. The bottom line is nobody really knows anything yet. If something comes out during this month, I'm going to tell you. So you'll have it before anybody else has it. Otherwise, right now, seriously, after an hour and a half long meeting, my conclusion is nobody knows anything definite about the fall yet. We're going to have classes. Just not sure what they're going to look like yet. If I find something out, I'll tell you before the semester's over with. Today, I want to talk about product development. Now, yesterday, we talked about project management, and we said that a lot of new products are designed using project management teams. So they kind of dovetail together. And there's some supply chain implications to product design. So all three topics for tomorrow's exam really tie together. And I'm going to put together a review of all the homework assignments that have come out before the exam, so you'll be privy to those so you can review those things and be ready for the exam. In the exam, like exam one, it's open note, it's open book. You'll have 2 hours to take an exam designed to take less than an hour. So don't rush through it. Read the questions carefully. Read the answers carefully. No trick questions, no trick answers. Answer the question, move to the next one. Okay, so product development. Bottom line with product development is I want to design a product or a service that meets the needs of the customer. There's that term again, customer. And again, everything that we're doing in supply chain management, in operations management, should be. My experience is it not always is, but it should be focused on the customer. Everything we do in business should be focused on the customer. There's some impacts that are going on with product design. And there's a slide in the slide deck. Take a look at it. Customers want a wider variety of products. Technology and customer demand are driving for a wider variety of products and a shorter product life cycle. What the heck does that mean? That means the products don't last as long as they used to. My first cell phone, I should have kept it as a souvenir. My first cell phone was about this tall. It had an antenna this tall on top of it. I had reception everywhere. I was in Southern California. And where I lived at Fort Irwin, there was spotty at best cell phone coverage, depending on who your carrier was. But I had coverage everywhere with this cell phone because it had such a big antenna and it was so big and bulky. Huge. Huge. It weighed more, I think, than my laptop does now. And then the push was to make cell phones smaller and smaller and smaller. When I was working with Sprint as a consultant, one of the phones they came out with was only about this big. Seriously. The buttons were too small to push if you had fat little fingers like mine. You had to use a stylus to push the buttons. And the problem they had with it was people put it in their pocket, they'd bend over, it'd fall out. They'd lose it. So then the push when we started getting smartphones, making phones bigger and bigger and bigger. I call it the Apple effect. Every year, Apple comes out with a new iPhone. So there's new Android devices to match the Apple devices. Everybody wants a new phone. My first phone lasted like 3 years. And always I got rid of it. I got tired of carrying a big bag just for that phone. And it's convenient to have a smaller phone that fit in my pocket. So every year a new phone comes out. Now I got to start thinking about it as a product designer. What do I do with my old phones at end of life? There's a lot of precious metals in my phone that can be reused, that there's a finite supply of in the ground. How can I design this phone so it can be disassembled and I can get the reusable parts out of it? And what do I do with my excess products when I get to end of life? So one of the things we did when I was at Sprint, every month we sat down, we looked at in product development the new devices coming out, and our goal was to have a new device replace an old device. So I had the same set of options for phones as far as numbers, but this one replaced this one, and this one replaced this one. That was the goal. So then every month we had to develop a plan. If this one was coming out of the system, we needed to draw down the inventory of it. So when we got to the point where we were no longer supporting that phone, we had nothing or very little on the shelf to get rid of. So I need to think about, what do I do with these things at end of life? How do I dispose of them, or how do I recycle them at end of life? When I start thinking about product design, I need to think about the materials. What am I going to make this product out of? And perhaps if I have that idea of fewer suppliers we talked about yesterday with single sourcing, if I have fewer suppliers, or I guess we talked about 2 days ago, single sourcing, then my suppliers may get involved and say, if you make this battery cover just a little more durable, the product will be more durable. What kind of dimensions and tolerance do I want this product to work in? When I was in R&D the first time for the Army, everything that we designed, and my team originally designed tents and shelters and field equipment, everything we designed had to have 3 versions, 3 sets of dimensions and tolerances. One version was extreme cold weather. We tested these things in Alaska in the wintertime. I'm a hot weather guy. I never went up there. I don't mind going to Alaska in the summertime, not the winter. We had an extreme hot weather version that we tested in the desert, Mojave Desert, in the summertime, when it's like 135 degrees in daytime. Then we had a temperate version that we tested at the Jungle Warfare Center in Panama to see how it operated in that kind of environment. 3 versions of every item to meet different demands and different tolerances. What do I want it to look like? I need to think about up front when I design a new product, what do I want this thing to look like? Because that may drive the dimensions and tolerances, or dimensions and tolerances may drive the appearance, and the materials may drive what it's going to look like as well. But I got to think about all these things together. So you think back several versions, I think it was the iPhone 4, as a matter of fact, when it came out, they tried to put the antenna in the edge of the phone. I know this before most of y'all had iPhones, so it's okay. So I'll tell you about it. If you held the iPhone 4 wrong in your hand covered up the antenna and you got really spotty reception. So the result was everybody had an iPhone 4. Apple gave them a new case to put on their phone so that they could use the phone. I think about these things all together. These don't work in a blind. I want to match the product or service that I'm developing, that I'm designing, with customer needs. Sometimes I may have to convince you have that need. So for example, 2005, I was doing a lot of traveling as a consultant. I was on the road about 3-4 days a week. Some weeks I was there, I was gone for 2 weeks at a time. Sometimes I'd fly on Monday, come back on Friday. I was on the road a lot. Had a big, bulky heavy laptop. Got tired of carrying that thing. Because when you have to connect on a plane and you have to go from this end of that terminal to that end of that terminal, it starts getting heavy after a while. It's bulky. It wouldn't fit under the seat. So I'd always have to argue with somebody to get space up in the overhead to carry it. So I broke down and bought a little handheld computer. In fact, I got it right here. Broke down and bought this little handheld computer. It's actually about the same size as my iPhone. But this was way ahead of its time. And with this little computer here, it's not a big screen as you can see, but I had a fold-out keyboard I could dock this in, and I could do word processing. I could do basic spreadsheets. I could do simple PowerPoint slides, and it had a little memory stick in it, depending on what size memory stick I put in it, depending on how big it was. I could put some songs on here, but this thing fit in my pocket. Pretty easy to use. Had a pretty long battery life. And I had an iPod to listen to my music. I had my cell phone, flip phone back in those days, to communicate with. I didn't realize in 2005 when I was traveling a lot that all those things I needed could be put on one platform. So when the smartphone came out, by 2007 timeframe, 2008 maybe, when the smartphones first came out, you had to market this. There's that link between marketing and supply chain again. They had to market to convince me I needed all those things on one platform. Yeah, I'm not sure how I got along without it. Having my music and my contacts and my phone and my internet all on one platform, as opposed to music on my little iPad or iPod. And oh, by the way, back then the first iPods only held 128 gigs, so about 3-4 hours worth of songs is all I had. So I got to hear the same music over and over again a lot. I had my word processing and my internet connection and my spreadsheets. And I had my flip phone to communicate with. So they had to convince me that I had this need to have all these things on one platform. I want to meet the customer's requirements in the simplest, most cost-effective manner. Why? Because I want to make a profit. Back to our discussions in week one. I want to make a profit. That very first set of slides we had. I'm in business to make a profit. So the more cost-effective the manner is of meeting your needs, the more money I can make, or I can undercut my competition, make more money that way. I want to reduce the lead time to the market, the time to market. The lead time is from when you order it till you receive it, or when I say I got this product ready till it's on the shelf and you can buy it. Two pieces here: speed to market versus haste to market. Speed to market is a quality product that works first time, every time, right out of the box. Haste to market is a piece of junk that you have to constantly upgrade, revise, recall, fix it. For example, when the iPad came out, Hewlett-Packard wanted to get in the tablet business because this was a brand new industry. Now, really, the iPad, let's be honest, the first one looked like a big, huge iPhone. I couldn't talk on it. But Hewlett-Packard wanted to jump in this business too. They jumped in too soon. They brought out a tablet that wasn't ready for prime time. They had to recall it. They had to redesign it and then bring it back out again and try to convince the customers now this new one is just as good as the iPad and it's better than what we had before. There's some stages within the product design. First stage, and all these stages really go together. But I got to talk about them individually, but they all go together. I can't do them sequentially because it'll defeat that purpose of speed to market. My ideas. Where do I get ideas from? I got a bunch of them listed on the slide. I want to touch a few of them just to make sure we're hitting the important things. My suppliers. Again, if I've got that relationship with my suppliers, they're going to say, Joe, you know, the competition is making this. and maybe you will make this. My salespeople should be out there talking to my customers. What is it we don't have? But if we had it, you'd buy it from us. What is it you need that nobody's got? We'll go back and design it for you so that you'll buy it from us. Warranty claims, product issues, recalls, product failures, customer complaints. It's good information. But I don't want to depend upon that information for my new products. Because if I've got that as my only source of information, that means I've got some poor quality. I'm not designing quality products. Back to that FedEx 110-100 rule, the cost of quality from Crosby. If I'm getting my information from warranty claims or customer complaints, that means I got some quality issues. I want to design the quality into the product because I can't inspect it in the product. I can do surveys. When I teach statistics, one of the things I go through in detail is the issues of surveys in capturing data. The problem with surveys is if it's a blanket survey, customer service, for example, the people that are very, very happy will come back and fill out my survey. The people that are very, very mad, they'll fill out my survey. The average customer won't say squat. So I may not be getting the data that I need from my surveys. I may not be surveying the right people. Give you a quick example of surveys. So, in questionnaires and interviews. So, about 2009 timeframe, I was doing a series of seminars in Southern California. I flew my youngest daughter out there as part of her graduation present, spend some time in California. We got to work out at Gold's, and we got to go to the beach and do some other things, catch some baseball games. And she wanted to go shopping. She discovered that there's this big, huge shopping center in Ontario, Fontana, California area that it was kind of like the Legends. Always like the Legends on steroids. This thing's like 6 or 7 blocks by 6 or 7 blocks. It's huge. It is huge. And outdoor malls are much more enjoyable in Southern California when you got the same kind of weather pretty much year round than they are in Kansas where you got too cold in the winter, too hot in the summer. So she wanted to check it out. We went and checked out the shopping center. The parking lot, we were lucky we found a parking spot really close to the shopping center. Got all those rental car stickers on my car, so it's pretty obvious I'm from out of town. We get out of the car, we start walking toward the shopping center, and there's 2 young ladies standing there with clipboards. Can we ask you some questions? Is there anything we should add to the shopping center or anything you didn't like about the shopping center? I'm thinking, excuse me, but wouldn't it make more sense if you turned this way and asked the folks leaving the shopping center their impression? That's a good idea. 3 hours later, my youngest daughter has single-handedly propped up the economy of Southern California for the entire year. I look like a pack mule. I am loaded down carrying bags. She's loaded down carrying bags. 2 young ladies are still looking at the parking lot, asking people questions. If I'm just doing surveys or interviews, I may not get the right information I'm looking for. I can do field testing. Or I put the products out there, you give me feedback, what do you think? And then I can modify it, or I put it out there for everybody to use. McDonald's field tested 24-hour breakfast at several occasions, to include Lawrence, to see how to go over. And apparently successful, because everybody's got it now. I can use trial users. I'm going to provide you the product. You're going to try it. You're going to give me feedback. Tell me if you like it or not. Several years ago, a major golf magazine decided that with golf products, instead of having pros test these products, they were going to have average golfers tested. Well, I'm not even sure I qualify as an average golfer, but one of the guys I played golf with and I decided to sign up for this testing panel because if they want amateurs, I'm as amateur as they come with golf. So we signed up. They sent me a thing back acknowledging it. They sent a friend back a thing saying acknowledged he was going to be part of the panel. About a month or so later, a friend gives me a call and says, "Hey, I got this package in from the testing panel." This thing was like a $400 driver. Now, if you're not familiar with playing golf, the driver's got a head this big on it. It's what you use to hit on the ball on the longest holes. Well, where we lived at the time, we were out in the middle of the Mojave Desert. We couldn't just up and go play golf at the spur of the moment. So we decided to go play golf Saturday. We get there Saturday morning. Jimbo pulls out this big, huge golf club. I let him tee off first. He tees off with it. Ball goes about 275 yards down the fairway and took a right turn. This particular golf course, the first 3 holes paralleled a train track. When Jimbo's ball took a right turn, it smacked a moving train. That takes skill. I've never seen it before or since then. I laughed. I laughed so hard I couldn't hardly hit the ball. About a month later, I get an email. Mr. Walden, we're going to send you a package. Please try it, use it, keep it as our gift to you, and give us your feedback. Yeah, I'm going to get a new driver. Now, being no taller than I am at 5'5", I know if they send me a driver, I got to get it cut down. I got to get it modified because most of them are designed for folks that are 6 foot tall. I got to get it cut down a little bit. That's okay. Most of my club's that way anyway. I get home. There's a box on my front porch. It's about this big. Well, a driver ain't going to fit in that. It was a hat. It wasn't just, a fancy hat. It wasn't, a golf hat that had like maybe, the golf course on it or some golf company on the front of the hat. Now, in my office, I got a stack of hats over here, stack of hats over here. You see, I got hats over here and over here and over here. I got 2 boxes of hats that are about, they're 3 hats wide and they're about 6 feet long. And 2 stacks fit in the box. Down in my basement of hats that I have not worn since I moved to Lawrence 9 years ago. Well, some of them I've worn. I try to swap them out and rotate the stock every so often. But I've got enough hats as a redneck. I got enough hats that I can wear a different hat every day of the year and never wear the same hat twice. Seriously. I have a hat problem. Last thing I need was another hat. That's okay, well, I'll wear it. See what it does. Well, it had like the cloth in the front. I like the mesh in the back. Kind of like this hat here, it's got this mesh in the back of the hat. Well, when you play golf in the desert and you got mesh like this in the back of your hat, here's what happens. You get a sunburn in the back, little tiny holes of sunburn from the mesh where you used to have hair. Ain't good. Send them a note back. Didn't do anything for me. An email back saying, Mr. Walden, we're sorry, but please keep the product as our token of appreciation for testing it. And we'll put your name back in the hat. Hopefully, no pun intended. Put your name back in the hat, and maybe we'll choose your name again in the future. About 6 months later, I get an email again. I said, damn, now I'm going to get my driver. They sent me a golf glove. That's okay. Because when you play golf in the desert and the last hole doesn't go good, sometimes you put the clubs in the trunk, put the glove in the trunk, close the trunk. Don't touch them again for another week or 2. Well, the glove, it gets sweaty, and you put it in the trunk, it starts drying up, shriveling up. Kind of like OJ's glove. They had the OJ trials way back 20 years ago. All shriveled up. Okay, great, I can use a new glove. This glove was a men's extra large. And if you can see me in person, it's making a lot more sense. Because if you look at this hand of mine, I used to work out with a guy when I lived in Georgia who was 4'6". His hand is bigger than mine. On a good day, I can fit into a men's large or to a men's small. Sometimes I have to get a woman's glove to fit my little hand. This is an extra large. I had enough room to fold every finger all the way over. Didn't do me good. I'll give it to my buddy Jimbo. He's 6'4", about 250. It was too big for his hand. So no, it didn't work. Back, okay, we'll put your name back in the hat, yada, 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 yada. And they went out of business. So I gotta make sure I'm getting the right product to the right trial user if I want to get the right feedback. Or I can get my ideas from research and development. Hopefully my R&D folks are doing good work. Remember I said with Rubbermaid, they're trying to get 300 new products a month out to the customer. So I want to make sure my R&D guys are really working on stuff that's going to meet the needs of the customer into the future. I can do benchmarking. There's two kinds of benchmarking out there. One is benchmarking a service. So I can benchmark my service or my process against best in class. So for example, I want to benchmark customer service. Most folks that want to benchmark customer service go to Disney. Some people went to Disney to benchmark. In fact, Disney created a training program. They can come to your location and train your employees for about $500 a piece on customer service. It's a day-long seminar. If I want to benchmark a product, I have to benchmark the product against a like-type product. So I can't benchmark my tablet against a desktop or a tablet against a bigger laptop, a faster laptop. It's got to be a tablet against a tablet, a laptop against a laptop, a desktop against a desktop, an economy car against an economy car. I can't benchmark my economy car against the top of the line Lexus. It won't give me a good comparison. I can do reverse engineering. Remember we said the other day that in the 50s and 60s, if it said made in Japan, it was considered a piece of junk. Why everybody's laughing at Japanese quality and making a joke about it? The Japanese are buying American products, German products, like it's going out of style. And they are taking them apart. They're reverse engineering them. How is it made? Can we make it less costly? Can we make it better quality? And almost overnight, with Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Nikon, Canon, all those things, almost overnight, the words quality and Japanese, made in Japan, became synonymous. Another thing I can use is a perception map. Now I've got a picture of a perception map in the slide deck. This one was done about 16 years ago. It was done on breakfast cereals. And you see I've got different cereals there. And basically this survey was done, how do the customers perceive my product? Is it perceived to be high in nutrition and tasting good? If you look at the one I've got in the slide deck, none of them made that top quadrant. The question is, how do I get my product to the top quadrant? You see, you got Rice Krispies, bad taste, low nutrition. Cocoa Puffs, taste good, but low nutrition. Well, of course, because a Cocoa Puff's just a chocolate-covered Rice Krispie. Pretty much anything covered in chocolate is better. And now the bottom corner, you got Wheaties, Cheerios, shredded wheat. Customers perceive them to be good for them, but taste terrible. That's how you get like a dozen different varieties of Cheerios. Frosted shredded wheat, cinnamon shredded wheat, frosted Wheaties, Wheaties with fruit, Wheaties with nuts. All kinds of varieties, trying to move up in that top quadrant there, so your perception of my product is it tastes good and it's good for me. I can do a feasibility study. All I'm really trying to figure out with this feasibility study is, can I make this product in sufficient quantity and sell sufficient quantities to make a profit? I do an economic analysis, a break-even analysis, maybe a technical strategic analysis. Do we have in our company the ability to make this product? Or maybe this is where we determine that making products or designing products is our core competency, but making products is not. Can I make it with the performance specifications I think the customer needs, or the customers have said they have to have, and still make it at a price point where I can make it a profit? I got to do a risk analysis. Why do I have to do a risk analysis? Because we are a society that loves to sue. Talk about that more in just a second. So my first one is an economic analysis. Can I make it a sufficient quantity and sell a sufficient quantity to break even, to make a profit? So what I need to do now is a break-even analysis. Break-even analysis is a relatively simple, almost a back of the envelope kind of calculation. It is the fixed cost divided by the sales price minus the variable cost. All of that is on the denominator. All together. It's not fixed cost divided by sales price minus variable cost. It's fixed cost divided by sales price minus variable cost. Important point of reference here. My break-even point has to be rounded up. I cannot sell part of an item. So I got to round the break-even point up always. All the old rounding rules we've learned since like, I don't know, second, third, fourth grade. If it's 0.51 and above, round up. If it's 0.49 and below, round down. For this piece of the course, throw it out the window. If it's any fraction whatsoever, I got to round it up because I can't sell part of an item. So I had a little example there in the slide deck. I've got this fixed cost of $2,000. I'm making this thing out in my garage. $2,000 is my fixed cost. That's my tools, my equipment I need to do to make this. I've got variable costs of about $5 an item. I think it's sell for $10 a piece. So it's not a real big ticket item, not a high margin, profit margin item. So the calculation is simply 2,000 divided by 10 minus 5, or 2,000 divided by 5. So I got to sell 400 of these things to break even. Item 401, I start making a profit. So it's a relatively simple calculation. Two important things to keep in mind with break-even points. One, we've already said, I've got to round it up. I've always got to round up break-even points. If my calculation had come out to be 399.01, I still got to round it up to 400. If it come out 400.001, I still got to round it up. Any fraction whatsoever, I got to round it up. And the second important piece of information with the break-even point is the break-even point by itself is really of no value. That number is great. Okay, I got to sell 400 break-even. I need to have a forecast. Next week we'll look at forecasting. I need to have a forecast of how many can I sell in order to compare to the break-even point, in order to make an educated decision. So I do my break-even point calculation. That tells me how many I got to sell to break even and start making a profit. But without the forecast, it's of no value. Okay, so Joe, what happens if the forecast comes in, you can only sell 350 of these items? Our marketing folks have beat the bushes. This is a great product, but it's kind of a niche product. Best we think we can sell this product is about 350 items. But I got to sell 400 to break even. Well, we're sorry. We have beat the bushes. That's our best guess estimate, 350. Most textbooks will tell you right there on the spot, if you can't sell enough to break even or make a profit, pull the plug. Don't do it. I will tell you, real world. Okay? Back to our example with Clausewitz, all things change when you go to the abstract to the concrete. Abstract, pull the plug right off the bat. Concrete. Can I reduce the fixed cost? Maybe I can buy used tools and used equipment instead of brand new. Maybe I can lease it instead of buying it outright. Can I reduce the variable cost? Can I change the materials, keeping the same quality? Can I change the materials or the source of materials and get reduced variable cost? Either one of those is going to shift the break-even point in my favor. Maybe my marketing folks are so good, okay? Some of you marketing majors, you can develop such a good marketing campaign for me, I can raise the sales price just a little bit. That's going to shift the break-even point in my favor. If I can't reduce the variable cost, I can't reduce the fixed cost, I can't raise the sales price. My next and final option here is, can somebody make it for me? Can I outsource this to somebody who already has the tools and equipment? So they've already got that fixed cost already sunk. on something else. So they've already got the process in place. We'll talk about process design on Friday. They've already got the process in place. They don't have to get the building. They don't have to get the equipment. They don't have to get all the stuff for it. Maybe I can outsource it. They can make it. I can sell it. I make money. They make money. Everybody's happy. If I can't reduce the fixed costs, I can't reduce the variable cost, I can't raise the sales price, and I can't find somebody to do it for me. Cheaper, outsource it. Now my only option is to pull the plug, because I'm not going to make a product or even finish designing this product if I can't make a profit off of it. I do a risk analysis. Here's the problem with risk analyses. Most of them look at what are the hazards, what is the probability of the hazard occurring, and then discover that the probability is so low. We talked about Katrina and the risk analysis of that, where the risk analysis said the probability is so very, very low of a category 3, 4, or 5 hurricane hitting New Orleans that nothing happened with the study, and then one hit almost a year later. You look at the Deepwater Horizon well, risk analysis was flawed. They could save $500,000 by not using a backup blowout protector valve. So if something went wrong, the blowout valve would shut off the flow of oil to the platform. Because of the extremely low, almost a zero probability of the backup of the protector valve failing, the consultants convinced BP they could save $500,000 by not putting in the backup valve. Perfect storm of events. There's some other issues they did as well, but the blowout protector valve failed. There's no backup valve. And at last count, somewhere around $35 billion in fines, reparations, and cleanup that BP has paid to save $500,000. The government's not even that inefficient. So I got to look at what are the hazards, what is the probability of this hazard occurring, what is the severity of the impact if it occurs, and then put processes in place to either completely eliminate that risk or mitigate the risk. One example, I got some pictures in the slide deck. Take a look at those of the Great Pacific Trash Gyre. 2 weeks ago, ship docked in Hawaii that's been working on cleaning up. They've taken 100 million tons out of this area, and it's like a drop in the bucket. This thing is twice the size of the state of Texas. Y'all from Texas, y'all know how big it is. If you haven't been to Texas, I've driven from north to south, and I've driven from east to west, and it takes forever. Texas is big. And this thing is twice the size of the state of Texas. And it's several meters deep. The way the currents flow in the Pacific Ocean, all this trash collects here. Fish nets, plastic, other things thrown in the ocean or washed in the ocean. It's a big ocean. It's okay. It'll clean itself. And this is how it cleans itself. It all gets in one place. So what's the impact from a supply chain operations management perspective of not doing good risk analysis here? This area, twice the size of the state of Texas, if I want to ship things from the U.S. mainland west coast to Hawaii or the U.S. to Asia, I've got to go north of it or south of it. I can't go through it because all this trash will clog up the propellers on the ships. We're going to do a preliminary design. All I'm really trying to figure out with preliminary design is what will this product look like? How's it going to perform? So I create this functional design. I get this idea. My engineers create this model. We create a prototype. We test the prototype. Does the prototype do what we want it to do? And then we go back and revise the prototype and test it again. And hopefully at that point in time, we're ready to start making the product. If you look at the slide, I got 2 pictures there. I got some different pictures, kind of the same thing in the textbook. The top picture is a a variable reach all-terrain forklift, commercial version. The bottom version is a variable reach all-terrain forklift, military version. When I was in R&D the first time, I got promoted and got picked up a new department. New department was working on a forklift. Forklift they're working on is that one there on the bottom. Almost had it ready. First Gulf War came along. Feedback we got was it needed to be shorter lengthwise, shorter height-wise, narrower to fit into an 8x8 by 20 container. That way the last container stuffed would be the forklift. Get the driver off, close the doors, put it on the ship. First container's off, be the forklifts, take them off, open doors, put a driver on, back it out. Now you have the capability to unstuff all the other containers as they're offloaded. Made perfect sense. Back to the drawing board. Got some more feedback, back to the drawing board. I left R&D. I went to school at Fort Leavenworth. I went to Germany for 3 years. I went to a battalion command position in California for 2 years. I came back 6 years later. They put me at the headquarters. I've been promoted again. They put me up at the headquarters building. They had reorganized R&D, and all the R&D had been moved up to the headquarters building. These same folks worked for me again. They're still working on the forklift. I left. I came to Fort Leavenworth for 2 years. I went to California. Second Gulf War kicked off. One of the first things they told me when I went to the distribution center to establish that operation, one of the guys said, "Hey, sir, you know, they got that rough terrain forklift here." So I found it. I played with it. I drove it around. I drove the commercial version. The commercial version was blue. The military one was green and brown, sand colored. The military version didn't have the same weight capability, same reach capability, and was more difficult to drive than the commercial version. It goes back to core competencies. The Army couldn't seem to understand our core competency was not designing forklifts. Finally got it out there though. We're going to do functional design. Now, under the functional design, there's three basic pieces. The three basic pieces are reliability, availability, maintainability. Some books just call us RAM. Reliability is how long does it go between breakdowns. Maintainability is if it breaks, how long does it take to fix it? And the piece in the middle there, availability, it's a combination of the two of them. So the common metric for reliability is called mean time between failure, or MTBF. The standard metric for maintainability is called mean time to repair, average time to fix it if it breaks down. Systems availability is a combination of two of those. It's a simple calculation. Mean time between failure divided by mean time between failure plus mean time to repair. The closer that system's availability is to 100%, the better the product is. So I got some examples there in the slide deck. You take a look at them. It's just a calculation. If I got, in this case, I got 3 products. I want to find that product that has the highest systems availability. Now, the first time I was in R&D in the Army, all they worried about was reliability and maintainability. They weren't calculating availability. And we got some products that weren't real good, and we got stuck with them. Luckily, by the time I got back the second time, we were concerned about all 3 aspects. And we started getting better products that better met the needs of the soldiers that had to use them. We need to think about production design. Now, we're going to talk about this in great detail on Friday. It'll be the first topic for exam 3. But I need to think about doing product design and process design simultaneously. That way, I can ensure that what I'm designing, I can make. Or I've at least thought about how I'm going to make it once I finish the testing piece of it. I need to think about improving the design process. How can I improve it? Well, one of them is design teams. I can use design teams, which sound to me and look to me like project management teams, cross-functional teams to design the product. The traditional way of doing this before we started using project management teams was kind of a lockstep approach. I got the idea. I passed the idea to the engineers. The engineers design the prototype, the modeling of it. They pass it off to marketing. Marketing goes, we can't market that, man. It's a piece of junk. Back to idea, back to engineers, get the approval of marketing. We get to supply chain folks, and supply chain folks go, you know what? This particular piece is not made anymore. Back to square one. Back to the engineers, back to marketing, get supply chain's approval, get to manufacturing. They go, oh, we can't make that. We don't have a process in place to make it. That speed to market concept we talked about a while ago, out the window. Project management team, all these folks are on the same team together. If there's an issue, they solve the issue and move forward. There's a concept called design for manufacturing and assembly. Design for manufacturing and assembly just simply says, can I design the product so it can be assembled easier, or design it so the manufacturing process is more standardized, so I can maybe use the same assembly line for multiple products. About, I don't know, 12, maybe 13 years ago now, probably about 13 now, everybody wanted to jump on a Six Sigma bandwagon. Everybody still wants to be on a Six Sigma bandwagon. But back then, it was just starting to catch on steam in business as a whole. How can I convert what I'm doing to Six Sigma? How can we do Six Sigma in our business? And the manufacturing folks came up with the idea called design for Six Sigma. Probably one of the better adaptations of Six Sigma out there. Remember when we talked about Six Sigma as a quality program? Define, measure, analyze, improve, control. If you look at the slide in the slide deck, we've modified that a little bit for design for Six Sigma. Now it's define what we're trying to do, measure what's critical from the customer perspective, analyze what's out there right now. And then if there's not something out there that meets the customer's needs, now and only now do I design a new product or a new service to meet the needs of the customers. And then I verify that this product works the way it's supposed to before I put it out there to the customer. Again, just an adaptation of Stewart's plan, do, check, act cycle. I got to do some value analysis. Some books call this value engineering. Some don't call it anything. All I'm trying to figure out is, am I adding value? Remember, my primary goal of operations management is to add value. Am I adding value or not? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Then when I design for the environment, and this is not a new concept, but I want to start designing my products for environment. We're going to talk about sustainability in a few days, because I think it's critical enough. It's not in most textbooks. We need to talk about it because I think it's important. We need to talk about designing for the environment, thinking about the environment. It's not a new process. 1969, Clemson University, Clemson, South Carolina, was trying to design a Coke bottle that would dissolve on the side of the road. So if you threw it out as trash and littered the side of the road, it would dissolve. It wouldn't sit there looking ugly on the side of the road or break into pieces and bust up somebody's bicycle tires. It would dissolve. And they got real close. But when they put it on the shelf in their little mock-up store, if it sat on the shelf too long, it would dissolve on the shelf. And a Coke bottle with Coke in it dissolving on the shelf ain't a good thing. So they finally pulled the plug. But they were thinking about designing for the environment 51 years ago. I want to design my products so it can be recycled or made from recycled materials. Can I design my product so I use less energy or less materials to make it? Here's where it ties to end of life. Can I design my product so that it's easier to repair it and cheaper to repair it than just replace it? Can I design my product so at end of life, it can be taken apart and recycled. Think about sun chips. I don't know how many of y'all remember, but I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years ago now, since the pandemic and this shelter at home thing has taken place, time kind of runs together. But about 5 or 6 years ago, Sun Chips came out with a 100% compostable bag, environmentally friendly. They try to use solar power as much as possible to run their facilities. Thus the name Sun Chips. They came with this compostable bag. It would dissolve, it would compost in the landfills. Zero landfill contribution. Seems like everybody's goal in sustainability. The problem with this bag, and if y'all remember this bag, you know the problem was this bag was very, very noisy. People complained about it. So they pulled it off the market. So let's wrap up product design. The goal of product design is to design a product or service that meets the needs of the customer. I want to design it in the most cost-effective manner so I can make a profit. I do a feasibility study. I have to have break-even analysis. Remember the break-even point, 2 important things to remember, especially heading into the homework and heading into the exam. 2 critical things to remember. 1, I've always got to round up my break-even point because I can't sell part of an item. 2, the break-even point without a forecast. We'll look at forecast next week. The break-even point without a forecast is just a mark on the wall. It's of no value to me. I need that forecast of how many we think we can sell in order to make an educated decision about the break-even point. Do I make the product or not? If the forecast comes in under the break-even point, I got some options. Can I reduce the fixed cost? Can I reduce the variable cost? Can I increase the sales price? If no, can I find somebody else who can make the product for me, already has that process in place, already has the people trained and ready to go to reduce my variable cost? Then, and only then, after I've exhausted those 4 options, if I can't sell enough to break even, I'm probably going to pull the plug. Because I'm not going to make a product knowing I'm going to lose money on it. We looked at systems availability. The percentage of time that you, the customer, can use the product. The closer it is to 100%, the better the product. If I've narrowed it down to 3 products, I want to pick that one that's got the higher system availability, that combination of maintainability and availability. We looked at designing for the environment. Not a new process, not a new idea, but gaining momentum because more people are starting to think about sustainability and the environment, which is good. We'll talk about sustainability more in a few days. Look at design for Six Sigma. Define what we're trying to do. Measure from the customer perspective what's important. Analyze what's out there. If nothing meets the customer's needs, design a new product. And then verify that it works the way it's supposed to work before I put it out there. Talk about risk analysis. Identify the hazards. Identify the probability of that hazard occurring. Determine the severity of the impact if that hazard occurs. Come up with steps to eliminate or mitigate that risk. Ties to process design we'll look at Friday. I want to do process design and product design concurrently so I can make sure I've got a way to make the product that I'm designing. Have a great day. Stay healthy. Stay positive. Stay engaged. Stay disciplined. We're almost halfway through this month already. This 4-week course, we're almost halfway through. So we're at the crest and we're almost starting to slide our way down. Now it's important to stay engaged. We still got 2 more exams. We still got 5 more homework assignments. We still got 6 more quizzes. We still got a lot of points that are still out there. Stay engaged. Stay disciplined. Stay social. Remember, nobody can determine your happiness for you but you. Stay happy. Till Friday. Have a great day.